If you didn't hear, Starcraft was added to Hearthstone. This is the first cross-contamination Blizzard has done to Hearthstone.
Is that like Minecraft?
What do you mean? Have you played Starcraft ever in your life?
No, I was a Warcraft 3 guy. I was more of like the medieval guy than the space guy. So this is gonna be even better because I don't know anything that you're gonna show me. So it's like double layered. It's Hearthstone and then it's Starcraft Hearthstone. CGB
had some kind of association to it. Unrelated, by the way. I am deep in the sauce with World of Warcraft recently. I don't know if you've heard about this.
I have. You're playing the inferior RPG. Yeah.
Oh my God, this I'm actually tempted to play Warcraft 3 at some point because I've never played it. Regardless, Starcraft is divided in 3 different factions. There's the Protoss, the Terran, and the Zerg. I'm sure at some point in your life you've heard of Zerg Rush before. I would hope. Really?
Nope.
Okay.
Protoss is a Yu-Gi-Oh card though, so that's funny.
Oh my God. Okay. the original crossover. Basically, the way I'm going to show this to you is by all the packages. Unfortunately, I did tell you this off recording, but they done it in a way that is basically if you play one card, you're probably playing all of them. And because of that,
just because it's like, oh, that's Yu-Gi-Oh, Yu-Gi-Oh, mass synergy. That's okay. We're speaking my language, buddy.
It is very synergistic. Very synergistic. Your goal for today is to try to tell me which of the factions are the best one. In current Hearthstone.
Okay.
And luckily for me, I do have like stats for this, so I can actually go check to see which class is doing very well.
Okay.
And we're gonna end up seeing it. So
I have to pick one of the 3 by the end of this.
One of the 3 by the end of it. Zerg. The whole point of Zerg, at least the way they designed it in Hearthstone, is to swarm you. They are the more aggro style class or faction, I should say, out of all of them. I'm gonna start you off. The way I'm gonna do this is the exact way I did with CGB. I'm going to show you all neutrals, so you have the idea of all the cards that each class is allowed to play, and then I'll give you the class cards. Each class has been given a faction, by the way. You can't double dip into factions. So Zerg has Warlock, Death Knight, and Demon Hunter.
Oh, I get it. So they each have like a Trinity alliance for their. Okay, got it.
Yes, yeah. So we'll start off with the first card.
Zergling, 1 mana, 1/1. Battle cry, summon a copy of this. All right, it's a guy that brings out another guy. Cool. What else we got? Nidus worm. Nidus?
I think it's Nidus. I don't know.
Nidus worm. Draw 2 Zerg cards. They cost 1 less. Okay, kind of hard to evaluate without seeing more Zergs. But I'm assuming, is the Zerg symbol the little like fossil helix looking thing?
Yes. So these cards that card will only draw cards that have that little symbol.
Okay.
The mana.
Spawning pool. It's 1 mana. 2 art. What the? Get a 1/1 Zergling, Death Rattle. Your Zerg minions have Rush this turn. Okay, why is this?
Have I showed you a location card before?
Type? I don't think so. No.
Oh, interesting. I thought I have. Okay, so a location is.
If you have, I don't remember.
You play it on the board, and the 2 durability in the bottom is basically its health. So you can only use this 2 times, and then.
Oh, I see.
Each time you use it, you get a 1/1 Zergling, which I showed you first. And then
when it dies, it gives everything Rush.
It gives everything Rush. It is important to note that for locations, unless it specifically says it reopens it, you can only use it every other turn. So if you play this on turn 1 and activate it, you can't activate it again until turn 3.
Really? That's so weird that it doesn't like say that anywhere, but okay. So it's like a Yu-Gi-Oh continuous spell that you can sometimes use and then it blows itself up. Okay, got it. Brood Queen. 3 mana, 2/5. At the end of your turn, get a larva that transforms into random Zerg minions. And I'm assuming these are all the, Zergs you're already showing me. Okay.
And all of the class cards. So if you are playing like Hunter, you can get Death Knight Zerg minions.
Kerrigan, Queen of Blades. Cool art. 7 mana, it's a hero, so it just gives you 5 armor. Battle Cry, summon 2 2/5 Brood Queens, deal 3 damage to all enemies. So 7 mana board wipe, and then also gives you 4/10 worth of stats. And then the Brood Queens at the end of the turn give you the larvas. Okay.
Yes.
And then Ravage is the hero power, deal 3 damage randomly split among all enemies. I'm sure that doesn't infuriate people. Okay.
It's also improved by Zerg minions. So with each Zerg minion you have on board, it does an extra damage. So potentially this could do 10.
That's crazy.
Could do 10
okay, yeah, because these cards are already going wide anyway. But yeah, okay.
So that is the baseline of Zerg. Okay.
Okay.
We're gonna go into the class cards here, and some of these are pretty spicy. We'll start with Death Knight.
Baneling Barrage? Banelling Barrage? I don't know what that word is.
I think it's Banling.
Banling?
Baneling?
Or like Baneling?
Yeah,
Baneling?
like the Batman villain?
Right, like Bane. Yeah. Bane! Get a 1/1 Baneling that explodes. If you control a Zerg minion, gain another Baneling.
This is what a Baneling is?
Yeah, it explodes. If you control a Zerg minion, get another. Okay. Oh, he's so cute. 1 mana, 1/1 Death Rattle. Deal damage equal to this minion's attack to all enemy minions. So it's kind of like a mini board wipe sort of thing. Okay.
Yeah, it's just a mini board wipe until this card's played.
Oh. Infester. 3 mana, 3/2. Your Zerg minions have +1/+1 for the rest of the game. And I'm assuming that means, does that mean like hand, like deck 2, hand?
Yeah.
All that? Or is it just like, is it like a static thing that like when they come into play, they get +1/+1?
So it is an aura for the game, which means at any point a Zerg minion is generated or anything in your deck, they get the stats. So if one dies, every one of the minions in your deck gets +1/+1, and then so on and so forth. It is important to note, by the way, that this is an aura, which means, let's say you play a card like Equality way back in Hearthstone that sets every minion to 1 health. The aura is then stacked on top of it. So like if the minion
what the fuck?
So it's like, it happened to me very first day. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna set this minion's health to 1. It did not go there, and I promptly conceded. So just pay attention to that as well, because like you will lose from that. And then on top of that, they have this.
Viper, 4 mana, 5/3. Battlecry, summon a minion from your opponent's hand. Your other Zerg minions gain Reborn and attack it. So you play this, you get something out of their hand, it plays it to their board, and then I'm assuming Reborn is as it sounds, like if they die, they just come back.
Come back with 1 life.
With 1 life. Okay, that's a big difference. And then your guys just go, your other, so this doesn't attack it, but the other Zergs just like rush it down. That's really interesting. Okay.
So, again, that's why it's important to remember it's an aura, so that if your Zerg minions get reborn, they get the aura stacked on top of it. They become
plus, right, so they're like 2 health and then whatever attacks.
So it's not technically back at 1 life. They're usually back at pretty more. So that's Death Knight. We'll go on to Demon Hunter.
Creep Tumor, 2 mana. Your Zerg minions have +1 attack and rush, lasts 3 turns. So is this another aura, but it only lasts for 3 turns?
Yes.
Or is this something?
This one is, you can clearly see as well, because what they do for this kind of stuff is like put on the top of your portrait. The other aura you can't see. Like it's just there. It's just like a AoE buff.
Got it. Lurker, 4 mana for a 2/6. After a friendly minion attacks, deal 1 damage to a random enemy. After a friendly minion attacks, deal 1 damage to a random enemy, or 2 if your minion is a Zerg, which obviously you're trying to play everything together. Okay.
Okay.
Mutalisk, 4 mana, 5/2. Also damage minions next to whomever this attacks, and the enemy hero if a neighbor is missing. So this goes, attacks, damages both. So you can do 5 to 1 thing. If there's other things, you can do possibly 15. And it just damages, so it's not like they hit back. So you can hit something small to damage something big.
Yeah.
Now here's a question.
Sure.
Do you need neighbors on both sides? Like, so what happens if your opponent has 2 minions and Mutalisk attacks 1? Does the hero get hit in that case, or how does that work?
I believe the hero would get hit because one of the sides is missing.
That's what I was. Yeah. So if there's 2 or less, you're always going to hit them for 5 as well. Yeah, I
will also say that, let's say you only attack a minion and there's not a minion on either side, you will only hit the hero once. Like you won't hit it twice. It won't do.
Yeah, you don't hit them twice. I didn't think you would. Yeah.
Okay. I just gotta make that clear. I forgot Hunter's.
That's fair. That's fair.
So this is Demon Hunter. We're going on to Hunter. I forgot Hunter was a part of this. I don't know how I forgot.
A lot of cards. Yeah. Evolution Chamber. This is 2 mana. Give your minions +1 attack. Give your Give your Zerg an extra +1/+1. Okay. So it's +2/1 to Zergs. Okay. I'm assuming that's also just an aura.
No, that's actually just a straight buff.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. Because it's okay. Roach, 2/2/2. When you draw this, get a copy of it. Battle Cry. If you control another Zerg, gain +1/+2. So it becomes 2 mana, 3. That seems really good. Okay. And then when you draw it, you also get a copy of it. That's all. Oh, Jesus. Okay. All right.
Okay. So you can see how like they're going for the swarm, right? Very aggressive.
Yeah, exactly.
Very wide.
Hydralisk. 3 mana, 4/2. Battlecry. Deal 2 damage to a random enemy. Repeat for each other Zerg minion you control. That seems like it would also be annoying. Okay. Is that it for the Zergs?
There's Warlock. Sorry, there's one more. My
God.
My deepest apologies. Hold on, let me show you this one first. Actually,
it's okay. All the commenters already were like, "You forgot Warlock, Rarran. How did you forget Warlock?"
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. I stopped reading YouTube comments a long time ago.
Ultralisk Cavern. So this is something. The location, right?
This is location. Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Deal 1 damage. So you click it, activate it. Deal 1 damage to all enemies. Which is Warlock, so that's convenient. And then Death Rattle. Summon an 8/8 Ultralisk with Rush.
It's just an 8/8 body rush. Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't do anything else.
Doesn't do anything. Yeah. Just for the
how can you interact with these locations? Like, is there location removal, or are these just like
there is
untouchable?
It's not very playable.
Okay, I was just curious.
Most of the tech cards in Hearthstone are at a tempo loss, so you would have to have a really good reason. Also, I believe if you like use the card to kill the location, they still get the 8/8 with rush. So I don't know how much you really want to do that.
Spine Crawler, 2 mana 1/6 with taunt. Can't attack. Has +3 attack if you control a location. Interesting. So it becomes 2 mana 4/6 that you can't attack with.
Okay. And then there's this.
Consume. 1 mana, remove a durability from a friendly location. Restore 8 health to your hero. It's kind of interesting because it's like if you're just tap drawing every turn, and then you can just get the life back at the cost of a durability. But also you kind of want to do that to get your giant guy anyway, but then you can draw more. Okay. Yeah, I see it.
Okay, so that's the entire Zerg package.
Okay.
Out of all of these Zerg packages, which one do you think is the best?
Obviously based off of class is what you're talking about, right? Because I'm assuming like because neutral's for everyone.
Neutral's for everyone, yeah.
Is Kerrigan neutral? So as long as it's a Zerg class, they can all use her.
Kerrigan,
right?
Kerrigan, upwards to Zergling can be put into any deck.
Okay. She seems cracked. Just very from good. What it seems like. She seems very good. I know I'm talking about neutral stuff, but I'm kind of just going back since you showed me 4,000 cards in the time span of like 5 seconds.
Yeah, that's fine.
Just to remember like what we're working with.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like that's just like such a huge swing though. For 7 mana, like you just bring out 4/10 worth of stats that are going to give you more cards and then basically board wipe. And then on top of it, then you just have a way to just not board wipe, but just do a shit ton of damage for 2 mana every single turn because you're playing this deck, or this archetype, I should say, that just goes super wide to just give you so many bodies. That seems insane. So,
I will tell you, she was banned in Arena because she was...
Was she really?
Yeah, she was
oh my God. I can see that. She seems insane.
She was very good.
Okay, so which of these 4 I'm trying to pick is the best? What the game is.
So
today.
I'm basing this. When I did the video with CGB, there was a patch in between. So I'm basing off the current patch. I can tell you right now in top 1,000 legend, there is only one of these that is a good deck.
Only one is a good deck. All right, so let's start back at the beginning. So these were the Death Knight ones, correct?
First are Death Knight, yeah.
So we have the Baneling Barrage that gets a guy that blows up, and then possibly another guy that blows up. And then it only affects enemy minions. But then those could be buffed potentially by the Infestor, because Infestor could make these like 2/2s. Yep. And then like, let's just say lowest case scenario, it's like 1 damage to everything. Another one gets played, it does another 1 damage to everything. So it's a 1 mana, 2 damage board wipe, which sounds nuts on paper. But then Infestor, if you play Infestor, then they become 1 mana, 4 damage board wipe, potentially.
Yep.
If I'm understanding this correctly, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right, I'll put it to... See, we're in Yu-Gi-Oh! Land now. Everything works together, and it's already in the same package. This is great. I love this. And then the Viper... I really like this effect that the Viper, like, takes something out of the hand, and then your stuff just immediately attacks it. It's kind of cool, because it's like a... it's just like a different form of removal, in a way. Yep. Here's a question. How does it determine what minions attack? Like, if you have a board of 7 guys, which ones are like what order? Is it like left to right?
It's first in, first out. So if you played like a Zergling first, and then you played a Baneling, and then you played an Infestor, the Zergling always attacks first.
That's also cool just because it's a way to disrupt your opponent if they are on some sort of combo deck, right? I don't know if you would if this card exists in the meta, but like if you have a way to rip the card that you need to combo out of their hand, then this just completely shits on that. Yep. It's random. Like, obviously, you don't know if it's going to hit or not, but there's going to be, like, the X amount of times it does hit, and that's going to be, you know, really frustrating. With the larva, you said the larva could transform into anything that's within the class, right?
Anything in the faction. So any
in the
minion
faction.
that,
So you can get like a hunter guy in your Death Knight deck?
Yes, you can.
Oh, that seems fucking crazy. Okay. I mean, it's random, so it's,
it's random,
crazy.
But
they're all good.
They're all good. Yeah, exactly. They're all good.
Right.
But if you get, for instance, like if you're playing like Warlock and you get Infestor, you're like really stoked.
Seems pretty good. Seems pretty good. Okay, then let's go back to, so this is Demon Hunter next, right?
That is Demon Hunter.
Okay, Zerg minions have +1 attack and rush 3 turns. Okay. I'm not gonna read the Warlock ones again, because those were like the least interesting to me, and watch, that's the one that's broken right now. But I don't know. Those were like the least exciting to me. I don't really feel like it, and I could be wrong, I don't feel like it really goes with the whole strategy, with like what it's going for, right? Like you said, this is like a very aggressive strategy, and it's trying to like go wide and do all this stuff. Like, yeah, you have a way to get these big guys out, and you have like this combo with like Consume and the Cavern to like, kind of do that, but I don't know, like I could be wrong, but I'm just like, I'm not like excited by that. Okay. I think to me, honestly, the Death Knight ones look the craziest. So what this deck is trying to do, but
So it's interesting. Your analysis is right and wrong. Death Knight, objectively, if we're taking the entire Zerg package, is the best one. Like, Death Knight uses a lot of the cards. It's obviously the only one that has like the scaling, which matters a ton. Death Knight also has a ton of ways of like spreading the death battles, so Infestor becomes even better. The actual real best one at top 1K legend for Zerg is Warlock. But
that's so funny.
But the thing about Warlock is Warlock kind of uses not the whole package. They're basically using it for Kerrigan and the locations. Because there's a card that was released in this game called Seaside Giant, which is like, Mountain Giant.
I remember the Giants. Yeah, they get like the mana reduction.
This one is cost 2 less for each time you use the location in this game. And because Warlock uses a lot of location in that deck, you can get it down to 0 mana very quickly. So it's like a little bit of an asterisk. But yes, Death Knight, if we're talking about the whole package in itself, is the best Zerg one if we're using every one of those cards.
I get a half point.
You get a half point for that. It's okay. Your end goal is to tell me which one's the best one out of all of them anyway, so you're fine.
Of all of them anyway. Okay. So I got, at least I got like kind of right on the Zerg one.
You were right. They designed all of these cards. So how do I describe this? Hearthstone, when it comes to mini sets, usually what they'll do is they'll just have a support to like the prior expansion. So in other words, like they're not necessarily containing self-contained archetypes in a mini set. They're just like here to support what is already there. In Starcraft, because it's something completely special and they obviously wanted to make it work, they had to do
the synergy.
Yeah, they need the synergy. They needed to make it work. And they also had to print the neutrals so that it didn't feel like we're just not getting a lot of cards if one of the classes failed, whatever. So and
that's really interesting.
Yeah. So people are actually kind of worried what they're going to be like post expansion because they're actually really strong. Like a lot of these cards are really good. I told you that in Arena, like they had to ban Kerrigan and she's played in every single deck that runs Zerg, right? Because she's that good. So it'll be interesting to see what happens post. But yeah, because some of the cards they release just synergize so well with current cards in standard, Warlock ends up being really good. For people who are curious, I'm basing this off top 1K legend from Vicious Syndicate. So they're like a site that aggregates like the best decks based on like data science and shit. So that's what
I was going to say it's interesting because Yu-Gi-Oh, they do what are called deck building sets in between core sets every now and then. And a deck building set is almost exactly like this, where there's 3 unique archetypes. And the whole concept is that if you like get this product, you can essentially build most of the deck from these archetypes, which are comprised of both new cards and reprints. And it's sort of like self-functioning. Maybe you need some other cards that are not in the deck building set, but for the most part, that's like the idea is to give you 3 decks to work with.
How does Yu-Gi-Oh feel about that? Do people like that?
Most of them are shit is the big problem. But there have been some of the best decks in the game that have come out of deck building sets. So I think people like it because typically in core sets, they stagger out how like the support for different archetypes. So imagine if like they released one or 2 cards from each Death Knight, Hunter, Demon Hunter, and Warlock in the first set, and then the next 2 came in the second core set, and then the next 2 came in the third core set. That's typically how it gets staggered out. Okay. So the deck building set's nice because they sort of give you everything at once. But it has its pros and cons. Because then it's like, if you aren't interested in any of those 3 archetypes, then the set isn't for you. There's also a running joke that every one is like a new mech archetype, a new waifu archetype, and then the third one is like completely random, typically. But if you look historically, like that is almost true with every deck building set. It's really funny.
Okay. I was gonna say, Yu-Gi-Oh! In Hearthstone, they've done it a lot more recently, where it feels like they're building towards like a synergistic thing for each expansion. And the problem ends up being is that if they are not good enough, it's like the class didn't get any cards for that expansion.
Right.
So it's very interesting. So like with Starcraft specifically, as you could probably guess, they had to make them like very good. Sure. Which is great if they want to sell new cards, but then it comes back to the point of like how strong do these cards need to be, and how annoying do they get if it's the exact same thing every single time? Because I'm sure you looked at the Nidus Swarm card and thought like it was fine just to draw two. I mean, as a Yu-Gi-Oh player, you actually might think it's fucking insane. But the counter argument for it is like, because that card is so good, you're seeing the same thing over and over again, which is the other problem with having things like this, where it's very synergistic, because I'm going to see Kerrigan every single time I go against a Zerg deck, which is fine because people want to play their good stuff. But like over time, it gets really annoying, right?
But with Yu-Gi-Oh, the difference is we're not locked by a class necessarily. So even though like we're locked, so it's weird because even though, you know, you would be playing a Zerg deck, people can play multiple archetypes. What did you say the other ones are called? Protoss and what? Terran. So it'd be like you could play a Zerg Protoss, you know, deck, or like a Terran Protoss deck. Like you can combine the archetypes together. You're only restricted by if the cards like are anti-synergistic or not. So like if you could figure out a weird synergy between archetypes, you can play them together, and Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't preclude you from doing that, which is one of the reasons why people like it so much, is that it allows you to be very creative with deck building in ways that other games don't really allow for. See, because we're not class restricted, we're not color restricted. It's really just if the cards say you can do it or not, that's it. You just go nuts.
Yeah, I've asked the Blizzard team specifically to have a format that is basically dual class cards. So you can, every card is a dual class card. So you can pick another class while you're deck building just to see what would happen. Obviously,
kind of like Runeterra, right?
Yeah, it'd be batshit crazy because they don't design cards through multiple expansions. But at the same time, for like a month, it would be so intriguing to see what people would come up with.
Sure, just throw it in for like, you know how you have wild and standard or whatever. Just throw it in as a separate format. Just let people run wild with it.
I am trying, please. Like I am trying so hard. Okay, let's go to Protoss. Okay. Same kind of concept here. I'm going to show you the neutral cards first before we get into each class card. Okay.
Warp Gate. This is neutral, you said. Your next Protoss minion costs 3 less. Okay. And you can do that 3 times. All right.
You can do that 3 times.
That's really interesting because you pay 4 and then it's like a 9 mana cost reduction over the 3 turns.
Also, if it wasn't inherently obvious from that card alone, the Protoss have some very big boys.
I would imagine. So this is the Druid class, which means it's broken. Photon Cannon. Deal 3 damage. If it kills a minion, your Protoss minions cost 1 less this game. Okay. That's kind of... This game... Oh, that's an aura? Oh, that's cool.
That's an aura, yep.
Chrono Boost. Draw 2 Protoss cards. Summon a 3/4 Zealot with Charge. Charge is... You can go face.
You can go face. Yep. Then there's this.
Void Ray.
They buffed this card to a 3/2, by the way. Just for the record.
Oh, they buffed it?
Let me get the new one. Yeah. You could read it as it is. Or you could just
3
read it as
mana, 3/2. Rush Divine Shield. Battle Cry. If this costs 0, gain +2/+2. If this costs... Oh, that's cool. So if you... nerf it with the, or not nerf it, if you shrink it with the Warp Gate, then you can have it be a 5/4. Okay.
I think that's all they do. Oh my god, how could I forget?
I was about to say, isn't there like a big guy, Artanis?
My bad. Yeah, Artanis.
This guy looks cool. Battle Cry. Summon 2 3/4 Zealots with Charge. I'm seeing a trend here. Your Protoss minions cost 2 less this game. All right, cool. Yep. Okay, show me the Druid cards. Let's go.
Hold on. Read the hero power.
Oh, sorry. I missed the hero power. Twin Blade. Oh, does he have a blue blade? I missed the blue blade. I see the green one.
Yeah, it's something in the art.
Give a friendly minion and your hero +1 attack this turn and Divine Shield. Friendly minion and your hero. That's kind of cool. Okay.
It could be very, very good. Okay.
I was going to say, that sounds like it could be good.
For Protoss, we have Druid, Rogue, Mage, and Priest. Okay.
Of course it's Druid.
I'll start with Druid first so you can see it, just so you can get out of your system.
I thought you were going to give it to me last just because of that. All right. Construct Pylons. I wanted to say Construct, but Construct Pylons. 0 mana. Your next Protoss card this turn costs 2 less because, of course, it's Druid. It's broken. All right, next. Show me the big, like, 40 cost thing that wins the game. I already know that's coming. Immortal. 7 mana, 5/8, but it's Druid, so it's 0 mana, 5/8. Taunt, Divine Shield, Battle Cry. Spend 4 mana to double this minion's stats. I don't think I've seen an effect like that before. That's kind of interesting.
There has been. I just haven't showed it to you because.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Most of the time, they're not as good as you think they are.
Right. I mean, I'm not saying it's good or not, but I haven't seen that type of effect before.
It is cool, though. It is cool.
So if you have the thing that reduces the cost, you can reduce it by 2, and then the warp gate reduces it by 3. So you could play this for 2, and then if you spend 4, this becomes a 10-16 with Taunt Divine Shield. Okay, next. Oh, look, it's the big giant thing that has all the stats. Carrier. 12 mana, 2/14. At the end of your turn, summon 4/4/1 interceptors that attack random enemies. Do I get to see what the interceptor is?
They're just 4/1s, unless you really want to see if I can grab them for you.
Oh, no, it's fine. It's fine.
I'm just sparing you a card that you have to look at because you have to go
honestly, I think I appreciate that more.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, so they're just 4/1s. Again, they will attack at the end of the turn, and they'll keep coming. 2/14 is a big stat line here. Okay, that's Druid.
And the attacking at the end of the turn is in addition to them attacking the next turn. Well, I guess they would die, most likely, if they're 4/1.
There's a good chance they're going to die. I believe...
They can go face.
If they do live if they do... Yes, they can go face. I've gotten lethal from these. It's very nice. If they do end up living, you will attack, but they will not attack again at the end of the turn because the carrier is going to summon more that will attack for you, if you have the board space, of course.
Oh, interesting. So it's only the ones it summons attack because it's part of the effect. Got it. Okay. Got it.
This is Rogue.
Blink. Draw a Protoss minion. Combo. It costs 2 less. Nice and simple. 6 mana, 3/5. High Templar. Battlecry. Deal 2 damage to all enemies. Play another Templar to merge into an Archon. All right, you're gonna have to explain that one.
I will show you what an Archon is. Just pay attention to what this minion actually does on itself, because 6 mana, 3/5 that deals 2 for Rogue is like unheard of.
I was about to say, I mean, that seems good by itself. Yeah.
Okay, here's the other Templar.
Dark Templar. 6 mana, 5/3. Stealth Battlecry. Destroy an enemy minion. Okay. Play another Templar to merge. Okay, so if you have one of these out and then you play the other, that triggers the thing.
Yeah, I will say if you have 2 High Templars, then we'll also get the Archon. As long as
oh yeah, because it doesn't restrict you. Like it doesn't make you play the other one.
Exactly. Got it. And then this is what an Archon is.
Archon. 8 mana, 8/8. At the end of your turn, deal 8 damage to the enemy hero and 2 damage to their minions. Okay. All right. Okay.
That's Rogue.
Cool. This is Mage.
Mage, yep.
Hell yeah. Shield Battery. Gain 6 armor. Your next spell costs 2 less. I'm noticing a trend.
I'm just going to double check. That's your next Protoss spell. His next spell would be fucking so stupid.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Resonance Coil. 3 mana. Deal 5 damage to a minion. Get a random Protoss spell. Okay.
And here's the big boy.
Colossus. 12 mana, 9/4 mech. Battlecry. Deal 1 damage to all enemies twice. Improved by Protoss spells you cast this game. So I'm assuming it's like for each one, it just like doubles the effect or something.
Each one you get +1 damage, but it's doubled because it does it twice.
Yeah. You know what I mean. Okay. So basically if you play one before, now it's dealing 2 twice, etc.
Yeah, I would say the likelihood of killing them with 1 Colossus is very unlikely. I would say probably on average, if I don't get like aggro down, it's a long game, I probably get it to like 11 or 12.
Okay.
For the damage, just because you could actually says.
Oh, it's all enemies too, so that hits face too.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. It is crazy. Okay, and then this is Priest.
Hallucination. Summon a copy. Sorry, 1 mana. Summon a copy of friendly Protoss minion. It takes double damage. Interesting. I'm assuming that's going to come up later.
It will.
Sentry. 2 mana, 2/2. Lifesteal. Death Rattle. Your Protoss minions cost 1 less this game. I'm assuming that's another aura.
It is an aura. Yeah.
What the? Mothership. 12 mana, 10/10 mech. Taunt, Battlecry, and Death Rattle get 2 random Protoss minions. Interesting.
So the dream with Priest is that you discount your minions enough that you just get Mothership and you can get any Protoss minion that I've showed you. And they're all discounted. So you can go pretty crazy here. Okay.
So with random Protoss minions, you can get anything from any class again.
Yeah. And the thing about Protoss minions is that there are, I think all of them are actually like really good. I don't think there's a single bad one. So by the time you get to your Mothership, the hope is like you end up getting like a Colossus or something and then you just win the game.
Sure.
That is Protoss. What class of the faction do you think is the best one? And again, there is one that is objectively the best one. If you can figure this out, I would be pretty impressed.
Well, I didn't figure out the last one technically, so we're already on a good streak.
I'll give it to you. I'll give you the Death Knight one, because I feel like if we're talking just in the vacuum of what the classes are when I'm showing you, like there's no way you would have got the Warlock one. Death Knight objectively out of the Zerg ones were the best one if we're containing the whole package. So yes, I would agree with you.
So the neutrals have the ability to reduce by quite a bit. between Warp Gate going down by 3, and then the Photon Cannon also reducing things by 1. Oh, it's like a 2 mana for 3 damage, which is nice too. So like early game, that's good. And then also Artanis can reduce stuff too. So it's not like unrealistic to get to the big guys over the course of the game.
I would say that if you're building towards this deck, you are probably more than likely going to play one of these big guys.
Right. Yeah, that's what it seems like. I was just checking to make sure that there was enough going on that you could do it. And then also Druid has yet another thing that enables it as well. And Druid already has all the ramp in addition to this.
Yes, that is true.
Like Druid, it's not unrealistic to get there anyway. The question is the payoff worth it? Okay, so if we can assume we can get to the carrier relatively easy enough, there's a world where like you could just drop this and you just 16 damage your opponent's face and probably rage quit. I'm sure that's stream worthy.
It is stream worthy. It is.
And it's happened to you, I imagine.
Actually, I think it hasn't happened to me, thank God.
Oh, what's the most you've taken? 12?
You know what? I don't think I've actually ever lost to a carrier because I usually play first. I've been lucky enough. Now, to be fair, my playtime for Hearthstone has gone down substantially because of World of Warcraft. So sure. I don't know where I'm at with it, but I feel
like traded one bad habit for the other.
Yeah, listen, we'll get to that later on. It's fine. It's fine. Listen, I'm having fun. Okay, it can't be a problem.
Yeah, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's like you're playing the inferior MMO. It's fine.
Okay. Listen, I can't go back to RuneScape, okay? I don't know if I've told you this story. I used to have a sick account, and then I got hacked, and they took everything.
That's everyone. That happened to everyone.
But they took everything from me, and I was so fucking good at the game.
You start over. That's part of the game.
No, and then I found League of Legends, my true mistress.
That's the real problem. That's the real problem. I'm back in the rogue cards. I'm just rereading everything.
Yeah, you're good.
Because there's a lot.
There's a lot of info. I don't know how else to convey this to you without just
I think you have to show me everything at once. I did a video with CGB where I showed him Yu-Gi-Oh's most broken deck card by card, and I think I did a good job of sort of unraveling like how crazy things get. But I was only showing him one archetype. You're showing me 10. So it's a bit different.
That is fair. That is fair. Wait till we get to the next one.
I'm just looking at the Templars again. The Templars are neat because they're like really good tempo-wise, because one's a board clear and one just like one-shots something.
Yep.
So that's cool. And if you can reduce them pretty consistently, then it's like if you have Warp Gate or the other thing, then you can play these guys for like 2, and then it's like a 2 mana, 2 damage to everything, or 2 mana just kill something and get a 5/3 in addition to that. Like, that's pretty good. That's not bad. Mage is kind of cool, especially if you just like pump up Colossus and then just like drop him and just wreck everything. Like, that's very funny. So when it says it takes double damage on hallucination, you summon the thing, and then if it were to take 2 damage, it takes 4, etc.
Yes.
Okay. The carrier thing's really fucking funny. I just I want to pick that just because of the whole druid meme that I've got going.
I'm gonna show you one card.
You're gonna show me a card?
I'm gonna show you one card.
Oh, how nice of you. Groovy Cat. Battle Cry and Death Rattle. Your hero power gives your hero 1 more attack this game.
Go read Artanis' hero power again.
Right, it's the thing where it's +1 in Divine Shield, right?
Right.
So then it's like you...
So the way that
interacts... just like
start
swinging and just like killing everything.
So the way that interacts is that every time you play or a Groovy Cat dies, that hero power will get 1 more attack, which means you can cap it technically on 5 unless you generate another one.
Sure.
But that also means when you use this hero power, not only does the hero get it, but your minion gets it.
Interesting.
So that is 10 damage if Groovy Cat has been played twice and died twice.
But see, now are you baiting me because it's a druid card? That's the real question.
Maybe I am. That's crazy, man. It's 2 mana for 10 damage and Divine Shield for both your hero and the minion.
But see, again, I feel like you're baiting me because you want me to pick druid, because you know my eyes light up when I see a druid thing. Man, I want to pick druid, but then you showed me that. Now I feel like that's just wrong.
Go with your gut.
My gut's telling me you're baiting me is what it's saying.
Okay, sorry. Go with your initial pick before I showed you Groovy Cat.
Oh, my initial pick was going to be druid, and then you showed me that, so now the mind games are playing.
Oh,
okay.
Sivo, you're right. It was druid. Congratulations.
You're such a liar.
It actually is the best. That interaction.
Oh, is it?
That interaction is so insane. I'm not lying when I say that. Like, that is a game winner. And when it comes to the Protoss, without telling you how the rest of the classes really stack up, this Druid one is the best one out of all of them. Not necessarily because you're running carrier, which I think I didn't give it away to you. The reason why you don't really, it hasn't really killed me is because why am I running carrier when I could just run Groovy Cat and kill my opponent with 5 damage for each for the minion
That's
and my
true.
hero every single turn.
That's true.
Is a very weird interaction that a lot of people were not expecting. And it has ended up being the strongest thing that Protoss can do. So that ends up being very strong. Now, I did say for the Death Knight one, that I think for like this video in particular, like Zerg is the best for Death Knight because they use almost every single card for it. In this case for Protoss, there is not really a deck that wants to just full like critical mass their Protoss cards into it.
It doesn't really seem like it. That was like what I was sort of looking for, similar to the Death Knight thing. And it feels like a bunch of these, it's like some of them are just individually good and the others are kind of like whatever.
So when I did the video with CGB, the best deck at the time for Protoss was the Druid one, and it still is, even after that buff to the 2-mana guy. I'm gonna just ask this question. I guarantee you're probably gonna know the answer to this, but between Zerg and Protoss, which one do you think is better?
I feel like Protoss is better, or not Protoss. I'm sorry. I think Zerg is better.
Okay, so Zerg is technically better, but if we're considering that one interaction with Groovy Cat, it's a little bit of a toss up here. But
interesting.
Location Warlock is technically a higher tier than Hero Power Druid. So up until this point, I think we both would agree that Zerg is probably better than Protoss. So the real question is, what's better between Zerg and Terran? Now, to show you Terran, I have to explain a mechanic you haven't seen before, and that is called a starship.
Okay.
So I'm going to show you this first. You can read the card.
Arcanite Defense Crystal, 4 mana, 3/4 taunt, Death Rattle, gain 6 armor, Starship Piece. So we make an Exodia.
Not really, but you'll see what I mean. So what a Starship Piece is, if this minion dies and you haven't started building your starship yet, you will make a new starship on your board. So normally there are 7 spots. You'll go down to 6 because you have like a dormant starship piece. After a starship piece dies, it will start going into your starship. So let's say you played 5 of these, the base stats and the death rattle and the taunt, any keyword will go onto the starship piece. And until you either A, have a card that launches it, or you launch it yourself, because at any point in time you could spend 5 mana to launch your starship piece, that minion will be on the board. So technically you could build just a gigantic minion if you wanted to. It doesn't really pan out like that.
So it inherits everything from the things that die?
It
Explain
inherits
that part again.
Base stats, keywords.
Okay.
And effect. So like Death Rattle gain 6 armor. Every single time one of these would die, you would gain 6 armor. Base stats is important because if you buff it to like 2020, it would only become 3/4. It would only get 3/4 stats because you could do some pretty dumb shit if you could buff it and then put it in your starship piece. So the inherent game plan for starship pieces is that you want to build towards a very good starship to win you the game. The reason why this is important is because the Terrans got starships. Like I have to show you this mechanic and it'll make a little bit more sense as we lean into it. I'm only going to show you Shaman because I feel like it does enough to show you why or what Terran does. I could show you Paladin and Warrior if you really want to, if you want to see them. But for the justification, how much you had to read here, this is worse than a Yu-Gi-Oh video. So
I mean, you're not wrong. I was about to say we're definitely getting into Yu-Gi-Oh territory with Terran.
I'm trying to spare you from like information overload. And again, I wish I could do this differently, but I feel like I can't really justify the rest of the class without showing you. Luckily for Shaman, objectively speaking, I'm just going to say it is the best one out of Terran. So it makes your life a little easier. You're basically comparing the Shaman to the Zerg class and which one you think is better.
Right. Exactly. All right. SCV, 1 mana, 1/3. Battlecry, your next starship launch costs 2 less. I'm seeing a pattern with a lot of these, but yep.
So the initials, just so we have the reminder, the starship initially costs 5 mana.
You said 5. Yep, I remember.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Liftoff, 3 mana. Draw 2 Terran cards. I like how this is for everything. Summon a 2/1 Starship Piece with an effect when launched.
Okay, so I'm going to send you all of these. This is the only information overload, but anytime you see a Starship Piece with an effect, these are all
Man just sends me 5 cards at once.
I have to show you this. Waiting. You don't get it. There's less classes in this one, so it makes up for it.
Sure. So Vikings, a 1 mana, 2/1 Starship Piece. When this is launched, gain 7 armor. Okay. 1 mana Liberator, Starship Piece. When it's launched, deal 2 damage to all minions. Then Raven, all the stats and everything is the same. When this is launched, gain 3 random bonus effects. I'm assuming that's just like anything.
That's like Rush, Reborn.
Yeah, like any keywords, basically.
Yep.
Banshee, when it's launched, deal 5 damage to a random enemy. The other one was 2 damage to all enemies. Okay, so single versus board wipe. And then when this is launched, summon 2/2/2 Marines with Taunt. Okay.
So for the feature, anytime you see like a Starship Piece with an effect, that's what I mean. Those are the ones.
It's one of these 5.
I will just tell you right now, The ones that like really matter on average is probably Raven and Liberator. Those two are
That's
probably
what I would guess.
Okay,
Yeah.
just so we're okay. All right, so we're gonna start with the classes now. Oh wait, I'm so sorry, I forgot a couple cards here. There's this
I was
one.
about to say, where's the big one? Well, this isn't the big one. I imagine the next one's the big one. Starport, summon a 2/1 starship piece with an... Okay, so same thing. It's a location, so you get to do it twice. Cool.
Yes. Okay, cool. There's this one.
Ghost, 4 mana, 6/2, stealth, battle cry. If you're building a starship, destroy the lowest cost card in your opponent's hand. That's a neat effect.
Yeah, dude, super cool. Love it. And then this is the big boy.
Jim Raynor, 7 mana, 5 armor, battle cry, relaunch every starship that you launched this game. And then Stim Pack, summon a 2/2 Marine with taunt, give your Terran minions +2 attack. Interesting.
Okay, so Jim Raynor, just so we understand completely. The starships themselves do not have to die for you to launch them. The second you spend the mana on them, that's it. That's all you have to do. And when they're relaunched, they will relaunch every starship piece that has that effect when it's launched. So if you have Raven again, it'll do the keywords again, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure.
We'll start with Shaman.
Missile Pod, 2 mana, 1/3, starship piece, battle cry, deal 1 damage to all enemies, also triggers on launch. So that means that it happens on battle cry, but then if something launches, it also does it too.
Yep.
Lock On, 1 mana spell, set a minion's health to 1. Your next starship launch costs 2 less. Siege Tank, 5 mana, 5/5. Battle cry, deal 10 damage to a random enemy. Transforms if you launched a starship this game.
The
transform.
The transform effect is that it just battle cries and does excess damage to the opponent.
Battle cries does excess damage to the opponent. Interesting.
Okay. We will go on. So the thing is, I'm going to show you one extra card for this, okay?
Okay.
Because I feel like it's really important. I think I might have shown you this card.
Shutter Block. I don't know if you showed me. I think you showed me. Was there a different one that's like this?
I showed you Shutter Walk.
Okay.
I'll show you Shutter Walk, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you've shown me this one. What is a Miniaturize?
So Miniaturize, it means you get a 1/1 mana 1/1 copy in your hand when this is played.
Like when you play it. Got it.
Yes,
Okay.
when you play it.
Battle cry. Your next battle cry triggers 3 times, but can't damage the enemy hero. I see. Just because there's a lot of this stuff is very battle cry heavy.
So the reason I'm showing you this card in specific is because of the way it interacts with Jim Raynor.
Okay.
If you play this card and then let's say you play the miniature version of it, which is the 1 mana 1/1.
Sure.
And then you play Jim Raynor, that will proc that battle cry 3 times.
3 times, yeah.
Which means you are getting a lot of value from your Jim Raynor. That's why I'm pointing this. I'm also only going to show you Shaman here, because I think for this case, this is pretty much the only thing you need to know to determine whether or not you think it's better than Zerg.
This is tough because I feel like this is one of those things, and this happens in Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot of the time too, is like when there's a new archetype that is seemingly like overly complex at first glance, it sometimes like takes a while for people to realize like how good it is. So I wouldn't be surprised if something similar happened here, where it's like at first everyone like didn't understand like what to do with all of this, and then like maybe Zerg was really good, and then maybe people finally like connected the dots. And then it's like, oh, this is like actually crazy, but you just have to have a, PhD to actually understand what you're doing. It happens all the time, right?
That's fair.
Especially as we get into like further and further like complexity creep, which is, natural for any card game.
Yeah, slower decks on average are harder to build too.
Yeah.
Easier to just go face than actually think about like what is important, what removal.
Well, right, exactly, right. It's like, why would you jump through all these steps when you can just go face?
Exactly. Exactly.
Right. It's simple.
That's usually the case with Hearthstone, at least. I don't know how it is for Yu-Gi-Oh, but aggro decks are always the best thing you could be doing on day one, because people are trying to discover and figure out what's actually good. And then if you give it about 2 weeks, it usually is the point where people figure out what is actually good against the aggro decks.
Yu-Gi-Oh is weird because like since we're several sets behind Japan, but we know what the cards are, unless we get exclusive cards to the TCG
that's a good
that we
point.
don't know about. We already know what's good coming out of Japan 99% of the time.
Yeah,
it's not
that's
always
fair.
like a one to. It's not always 1-to-1 because like we don't have Maxi and Japan does, so that can make our format more combo heavy.
Yeah.
Where it can make Japan's more control heavy, and that's happened before. But it's different for us because the real surprise factors if we get a TCG exclusive archetype that didn't exist in Japan and that deck is really good, then all of a sudden we sort of go through those loops. But here, everyone knows what's good prior to it even coming here. So, like, we don't really go through that same, oh, aggro is always really good. Like, if there's a really good control deck, we know as soon as those cards are legal that that's, like, the best deck. Which kind of sucks because, like, we don't have, like, reveal season like you guys do.
That's kind of brutal.
Yeah, it kind of ruins
it. Sucks.
Yeah.
Because I feel
they still do it, which is dumb because we already know what all the cards are.
I was going to say, the best part about Hearthstone, at least in my opinion, and I will, like, defend this with my life, is right when a set releases, like especially at rotation. I know you guys don't have rotation, so you don't really get to experience this, but when like no one knows what's gonna be good after rotation is the best time in Hearthstone because everyone's trying new shit. Like it feels like a brand new game, even though I've done the game loop like a million times. So when you have a set that's like this strong and people are trying out a bunch of stuff, like people were hyped for Starcraft, right? The way that the meta has like evolved over the past 3 weeks has been extremely interesting to just watch from an outsider's perspective. And I hope like the same thing happens at rotation. What I'm worried about, and I talked about this at the start of this, is that Starcraft cards are so good and they're so synergistic at rotation. It might actually affect it quite a bit on how rotation looks, because if they rotate all these cards and Zerg Deathline ends up being the best deck still, and it's like, where's the rotation? Like what happened to the game? But we'll have to wait and see, obviously. Anyways, between Terran and Zerg,
I've been reading while you were yapping. So
which one do you think is better? I will tell you right now, there is one of these decks for either Zerg or the Shaman Terran is the best deck in the game currently.
Got it. And it's the Warlock one, right? Because you already said that's the best one.
Well, Warlock and Zerg are relatively close. I'll put it like that.
Okay.
If you're looking at like the tiniest margins here, the Warlock one is better currently.
Okay, gotcha. This one's tough. I feel like part of it for me is like I really need to like visualize it to see it, and like I sort of see it in my head, but I feel like if I actually like saw it, it would make more sense. So I'm just going based off of how my understanding of this.
I think that's completely fair. I will say when they showed me the Starport stuff like early, I was like, "Can you send me a video?" Like I was like, "What the f you guys talking about?" Like, what is this?
I feel like especially like being in the program like itself, being able to like see it all happening definitely takes off some of the mental load of it for sure.
What Hearthstone's really good at, like once you see it once, you'll remember it for the rest of your life. Like they're really good at that. So yeah, I understand that this is one of the reasons why I didn't want to show you every single one, because
of course
I think
it's just like too much.
It's too much. It is too much.
Yeah. See, okay, here's where I'm at. A lot of this sounds really cool if you don't just die to Zerg rushing you down before you actually get to do it.
That's fair.
That's kind of like the camp that I'm in. And I feel like just Zerg has like so many aggressive tools to just like, not even just like rush you down, but also just to like keep control of the board as well. I feel like if you can really get established with this deck, like with the Terran deck, then like nothing's beating you. But I feel like you need to like get there first. And they have a lot of ways to do it because they have a lot of things that reduce costs. Like obviously there's the ways to draw this stuff. There's plenty of ways to like keep getting more starship pieces. And then like obviously Rainer's a big, but they're all three of the big guys are big payoffs for their respective thing, right? Like there's no question that these three individual heroes are just all nuts in their own respect. But I like Kerrigan the most. I'll happily be wrong. I still think Zerg is better.
Okay, you're assuming that the rush package of Zerg is just too much for Terran to handle.
That's what I'm going based off of. And again, this is my very narrow, limited knowledge of everything, but it's just like there's sometimes where it's like the juice isn't worth the squeeze, is like the expression goes.
Okay.
That's like, I kind of get that vibe with this. I'm sure it's still good, but I feel like it's almost like too much has to go right for it to like work. But maybe again, with my limited knowledge, maybe it is consistent enough that I'm wrong, and I'll happily be wrong in that case. But I still think Zerg is better.
Okay, across top 1K Legend in Legend ranks and Diamond 1 and Diamond 4, Terran Shaman is the best deck in the game.
Okay. I will happily be wrong. That's fine.
The thing about Terran Shaman is the amount of tempo and value they get out of these cards. I know it's hard to visualize, but the starships are like fucking absurd. And if you can't win the game before they start actually like all coming online, especially after Jim Raynor, the game is done. Like
I wasn't sure if the clock was fast enough with Zerg, but yeah, no, I feel exactly that way. If this starts getting online, the game's over, just 100%. So it is apparently fast enough. Cool.
It is fast enough. Yeah, I will say. So like, Protoss kind of sucks. They I don't even know they buffed the 2-mana guy, I think in the hopes of tempo, but the problem is like the payoffs feel so janky compared to the rest of them that it's not worth it. So like the only Protest deck that actually sees play is the Druid one. But it was cool the first day because people were trying a lot of different stuff. There's a lot of discovery. And even though the decks played themselves, like it was a good time. Now, obviously things are refined and people realize people are also really tired of getting Zerg rushed. Like people fucking want to stop playing against the class. So I think it only got worse with time, but people really liked it, at least for the first week. Like people loved it. I had a lot of fun the first days.
It's funny. So everyone loved it, and then they went back to reality, and they're like, all right, we're done.
This is a conversation. I'm sure you're going to relate to this more than like any other card gamer because you guys don't have rotation.
Sure.
People don't mind losing. People just don't want to be losing to the same thing over and over again. There's a point where people are going to be like, I have lost to this so many times. It's just not fun anymore. Give me something else to lose to. And Zerg is coming to the point where, because it's so fast and so frequent, because it's how fast the games are, you will go against it a lot. So people now hate it. It ends up being the case. And you don't, have you not noticed that with Yu-Gi-Oh? Like I'm sure like there's one really good deck that you go against consistently and then you end up losing it to a ton. You're like, holy fuck, I'm so tired of going against this.
Right? I mean, I've never lost a game of Yu-Gi-Oh in my life, Rarran, but no, in all seriousness, it's weird because like, especially with like the Zerg rush thing, I feel like it would almost be good that you lose so quickly because then you can sort of get into the next game. I think the thing that Yu-Gi-Oh players really hate is with Yu-Gi-Oh, and this is more like a Yu-Gi-Oh 2 issue that CGB and I have been calling it lately, where the worst issue is when you're going up against a deck and it takes like 10 to 15 minutes to do its first turn. And maybe you have interaction to be able to stop that deck, or your interaction, you have to wait till your turn comes around to use it. So you have to just sit there and do nothing for 10 minutes, and then you get to do the thing to possibly have a chance to win the game. But maybe if they build a certain board, or if they do like a certain combo, and it like blanks your ability to interact with it, or maybe they have a counter or something like that, then you just sat there for 10 minutes just to go to like your next game or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think while people might complain that they're sick of it, I think there's almost a solace in the fact that if it ends really fast, you can kind of just move on to the next game. And that's just something that Yu-Gi-Oh has had a problem with as it's become more like combo-centric over time, is because the games just take forever. And that's something we see with game design generally now, is that people are trying to have games be faster, right? We've seen that with a lot of like newer games like Snap and, other things like that. They want the games to go quick. Whether or not that's good or bad is obviously up for debate, but Yu-Gi-Oh, you're definitely seeing like the dam bursting, at the seams, with that being like the worst case scenario. And that's not uncommon either.